If men and nations, instead of being governed by their unruly passions, covetous desires, and ambitious motives, were governed by pure principles of philanthropy, virtue, purity, justice, and honor, and were under the guidance of a fatherly and intelligent head, directed by that wisdom which governs the universe and regulates the motions of the planetary systems, there would be no need of so many armies, navies, and police regulations, which are now necessary for the protection of those several nations from the aggressions of each other and internal factions. Let anyone examine the position of Europe alone, and he will find this statement abundantly verified. Look at the armies and navies of France and England, and the confusion of Germany, also of Austria, Turkey, Russia, and Spain, not to mention many of the smaller nations, and let their armies, their navies, and police be gathered together, and what an abundant host of persons there would be. They would be sufficient to make one of the largest nations in the world. And what are they doing? To use the mildest term, watching each other as a person would watch a thief for fear of being imposed upon and robbed or killed, but generally strolling around as the world's banditti, robbing, plundering, and committing aggressions upon each other. And if they have peace, acquiring it by the sword, and if prevented from aggression and war, it is generally not that they are governed by just or virtuous principles, but because they are afraid that aggression might lead to combinations against them which would result in their overthrow and ruin. In the city of Paris alone, at the present time, and its immediate environs, there are 100,000 soldiers, besides police to a very great number, not to mention the vast number of custom house officers and others. Suppose we add to these their families, where they have any, and where they have not. Notice the vast amounts of prostitution, misery, degradation, and infamy that such an unnatural state of things produces. I give the above as an example of the whole, but here the navies are not included. I say again, what are these all doing? They do not raise corn to supply the wants of men, nor are they occupied in any useful avocation. But they must live, and their wants must be supplied by the products of the labor of others. There has to be an immense amount of legislation for the accomplishment of this thing. And instead of having one government of righteousness and the world obeying, we have scores of governments, and all having to be sustained in regal pomp to be equal to their neighboring nations, and all this magnificence and national pride having to be supported by the labor of the people.